Hi guys, welcome back to this video. So we are going to discuss tenses today. Now definitely this is one of the topics which is obvious that we need to follow all the tenses correctly. But it is extremely important for your IELTS examination that you use the correct tense for the correct timeline asked to you. For example, if the question is, what was your favorite subject in your childhood? Now, if you go and say, my favorite subject is mathematics, then it's going to be wrong because we have to follow the timeline given in the question. Now, I've heard this from a lot of students that although they know which tense they have to use, but they end up using any other tense, using the wrong form of verb just out of nervousness. So in this video I'm going to talk about the basics of the tenses present, past and future so that you can understand which tense do you need to use where, right? So let's get started. So first of all, we have the present tense. I'll talk about when do you have to use it. Let me get the pencil tool. Yes, now, for all the actions happening right now, you have to use the present tense. Whether if something is happening right away, something happening today, you have to use the present tense. For things you do regularly, if you go to the gym, if you go to work, if you go to college, present tense because you do it regularly. For facts that are always true, something which is evident, apparent, it's a fact, we have to use present tense. For example, sun rises in the east. We never say, yesterday sun rose in the east. Not correct because it's such an evident fact. It happens every day. We have to use present tense. Sun rises in the east. Next, for sharing your opinion, whether it's I like coffee, I like tea, I like lemon tea. Whenever you're giving your opinion or you're talking about one of your interests, you have to use present tense. If you say I liked coffee, that's not your opinion. Maybe it's a habit of past. But if you're sharing your opinion, then you have to use present tense. Now, how to use this tense? So, you have to use the base form of verb, also known as the first form of verb. It's as simple as that. You don't have to use was, you don't have to use were, you don't have to use will, not required. A lot of students they use will with present tense. I will go to school, I will do this, do that, whatever. But present tense not required. Use is or are plus the first form of the verb. I'm not delving deeper into the continuous tense or the perfect tense here since this is a basic video. In the next video, I'm going to discuss all of the tenses in detail. So do look out for that. Now, I do have some examples here. I walk to school every day. She teaches English at the university. The sun rises in the east. So you can see that we haven't used any was, were, will, shall. No, it's simple first form of the verb. Some a suggestion that I would give you is that dig deeper into the subject verb agreement. I'll attach the link to that video in the description because when it comes to present tense, you have to have the subject verb agreement on point. Now, some tips. Take care of the time frame. Understand the question, understand the time frame of the question, and then appropriately use the present tense. Use present tense for discussing stories or books. If you're talking about any movie that you watched, or if you're discussing any opinion that I went through this movie and it's amazing. You can see how I've used it's amazing, not it was amazing or it will be amazing. Simply it's amazing. The music, the action, the acting, everything is extremely on point. Okay, let's move ahead to the past tense. Now, definitely, you have to use past tense as the name suggests for all the actions completed in the past, whether it's a week ago, yesterday, 1 month ago, 5 years ago, you have to use past tense. Definitely past events. If any event happened in the past, whether it was your last birthday, your last anniversary, any farewell party which you attended, past tense. For narrating stories, now, a lot of times we narrate stories that once upon a time there was a pretty girl who was going here, going there. For those, we have to use the past tense. Definitely, if the narration needs to be in the present tense, then it can be different. But usually, to narrate past stories or bedtime stories, we use the past tense. For habits in the past, something that you used to do before and now you're not doing it anymore, again you have to use past tense. So it can be, I used to go to cycling twice a week, I used to go to the gym, or any habit of yours. Now, how to use, what's the rule over here? You have to add ed to the base form of verb, and you have to take care of some irregular verbs. Definitely, we have to add ed to the verbs, but for some cases, you have to take care. For example, when we talk about the past form of verb of cost, so we can't add ed there, it's cost, cost, cost. So make sure that you're familiar with in which verbs we can add ed and in which ones we cannot. For example, I visited Paris last summer. They studied English for 2 years. He ate breakfast at 8 a.m. So remember, it's breakfast, not breakfast. That's a common error. Now, some tips for the past tenses: pay attention to special past forms. As I mentioned, sometimes you can't add ed. For example, rise, rose, risen. Now, the past of rise is not rise ed, it's just rose, rose. So, pay attention. You can even go through the different forms of verb, or you can Google the irregular forms of verb and just give it a read, and it's super easy, and you'll be able to understand for which ones you have to add ed and which ones are the exceptions. Then use past tense when sharing past experiences. Now, definitely, and you know what, in your IELTS examination, a lot of times your cue card is about describe a place you visited, describe a movie you watched, describe a friend that you met, or a conversation you've had recently. So you have to use past tense for these. You cannot say that I go to Japan. You have to say I went to Japan. I saw these places there. I had so much fun. I enjoyed. So use past tense while describing the past experiences. Okay. The next one and the third one, which is future tense. So when do you have to use it? For actions that will happen in future, for predictions about the future, or for plans and intentions. So for all these three things, you have to use future tense, whether it's your plan, whether it's prediction about your future, or anything in general. If you know that something is going to happen in future, you have to use future tense. So you have to use will or shall with the base form of verb. Again, the form of verb will be base or the first form, and you just have to use will or shall with it. Sometimes we can use going to with some planned actions, that I'm going to do this, I'm going to Japan, right? For example, I will call you later. She is going to travel to Europe next month. They will start a new project. They will start a new project. It's not a tongue twister, right? They will start a new project next week. So, this is how you have to use the future tense. Now, some suggestions from my end. First of all, understand the difference between would and will. Definitely, most of the times we use will for future tense, but sometimes we have to use would as well. I'll tell you what's the difference here. We use would for any idea or any wish. If I say, I would like a cup of tea, or I would like to go to Mumbai. So I'm depicting an idea or wish for the future reference, that next year I would like to go to Mumbai. But when I use will, it is more of a plan. It's definite that I will go to Mumbai next year. I will drink a cup of tea. So it's more definite and it sounds like a plan all which is going to happen for sure. Then use future tense for expressing future plans. Now this is something I observe a lot whenever I ask my students that what are you going to do in the upcoming weekend. So they just speak in present tense that usually I go to the park or usually I meet my friend. But when you have to depict your future plans, you have to use the future tense that I will meet my friends or I will spend some time with my family. Even if you're mentioning that I would like to spend some more time with my family in the upcoming weekend. So, depending on the situation, you can decide whether you need to use would or will. But make sure that you use the future tense. So, this was with the basics of tenses past, present, and future. And definitely in the next one, I'm going to cover the specific and the further types of tenses for all of these three. So, thanks a lot. I hope it was a great video. See you later.